Ravi, if I may turn to you, in addition to the democratic processes, we have also seen Bhutan coming out of its image of a hermit kingdom as it was known in 50 years ago. You know, we have seen gradually its diplomatic engagement that has increased. In 1971, it became a member of the United Nations. It became a member of the non-aligned movement in 1973 and has also sought a non-permanent seat in the UN Security Council. How do you look at this aspect of Bhutan's growing diplomatic profile?
I think the image has been very carefully cultivated and allowed to be projected by the former king, Jigme Singye Wangchuk. He has been at the helm of making Bhutan known to the rest of the world, but in very carefully calculated stages. If I am not mistaken, Bangladesh was recognized by India as soon as it was liberated, and Bhutan was the second country to recognize Bangladesh as an independent nation.
True.
And its admittance into the UN, in its activities in the non-aligned movement, and its gradual expansion into the diplomatic world in stages was carefully orchestrated by His Majesty the former King Jigme Singye Wangchuk. The way in which it has been done was very well calibrated. They expanded into Bangladesh, opened a mission there, then in Kuwait, and then in Bangkok, and then of course through the UN covering many other areas. But the experience has been somewhat mixed. While they have got aid from rich countries like Kuwait via Bangladesh, they have, in the sense that Bangladesh received aid from Kuwait, and part of it was used to import certain agricultural products from Bhutan, like fruit juice and fruits and other things, for its own consumption in the initial years. In the recent years, there has been a more, shall I say, vigorous effort being made, particularly after 2008, when the new government was formed under Prime Minister Jigme Thinley, if I am not mistaken. Their activities in the UN and in the international areas was even more visible. Unfortunately, however, their recent efforts at winning a seat in the United Nations Security Council as a non-permanent member was not successful. But I am sure they must have learnt their own lessons. But the most important thing is the present King Jigme Gezer Namgyal Wangchuk, I am sure, is being properly, shall I say, guided by his father, the former king, so that in the 21st century, Bhutan is able to establish an image of tradition blended with modernity, but also on very strong foundations.
Nalin, despite the fact that Bhutan has opened up diplomatically, as Ravi said, in a very calibrated, gradual manner, Bhutan does not have diplomatic relations with the P5, the 5 permanent members of the Security Council. Now, and that includes the big one on its border, namely China. And there have been efforts by the Chinese government to establish some kind of a diplomatic presence. There are outstanding differences on the boundary. Can you throw some light on that?
I think this is, as Ravi pointed out earlier, this has been a conscious decision. The fact that I would draw a distinction between saying not having diplomatic relations and not having a diplomatic presence in Thimphu. And that is the difference. They have diplomatic relations, they recognize each other.
But no resident missions.
But no resident diplomatic missions. And I think there is a reason for that, frankly. I think there is, apart from anything else, there is a physical constraint. I mean, Thimphu is a very small city. Or actually, it's basically a large town, a very traditional, well-maintained town, but a very small one.
Well, the total population of Bhutan is about 7.5 lakhs. I think I should mention this for the benefit of our viewers. But
that's
go
what
ahead.
I wanted to mention. But I think it's also a very conscious decision, because if you have one of the permanent members in Thimphu having its diplomatic mission,
then you need the others as
then
well.
you have to have the others. And no, there's also other problem. Then can you leave countries like Japan and Germany out? Can you leave your other development partners out? So I think
it opens a Pandora's box.
It opens a Pandora's box.